Greetings, Wrestle Buddies, and I am so excited because welcome to episode 1 of Buddy Wars. Fantasy Booking has finally reached the Wrestle Buddy channel. Right, now, Alex, if you'd like to pop the rules up so people know how this works, and we'll go through them.
No
You'll get there eventually. There we are. Okay, gents. So your turn will be decided with a coin toss, and we will see who goes first. Round 1, you get 15 minutes to outlay your overbook, and then you get a 5-minute overtime if you need it. With the decision of who will win will be taken on a Twitter poll this week, and the winner will be announced next episode. So you're going to have to wait a week to find out who wins. Round 2, it's on the screen. As you can see, the rules are changing slightly. We're going to a 10-minute time limit with no overtime, and you rebook at a WrestleMania match card. That's if you get to round 2, gentlemen. Round 3, 5 minutes, no overtime, and you'll be rebooking what I believe personally is the worst pay-per-view of all time. Right, is everybody ready? Okay, right. Okay.
Is Zane ready? He doesn't look ready.
Zane, are you ready?
No.
No, you're not ready. Right. Okay, gents. Heads or tails? Zane, you can call it.
He's gone. Is he gone already?
Are you gone already, Zane? Or are you still with us? Jimmy, call it.
Tails.
It is heads.
Oh, no.
Zane, do you want to go first or do you want to go second? Jimmy?
He forfeits.
Jimmy, technicals, problems, people, there's nothing we can do, unfortunately. I'm sure Zane will be back with us in a short period of time. Jimmy? Yeah. Would you like to present your book? Your 15 minutes starts now.
All right. So we are rebooking the invasion angle. This is a very important one to me because this is the one that killed my love for wrestling for a short time period. But I wanted to accomplish 2 things here. 1, I wanted WCW to come across as an actual threat because it didn't happen and it needed to happen. So that was my goal here. 2, I'm only completely rebooking the first show. And from there, everything else kind of just falls in place when I get to the pay-per-view cards. So you have to just kind of bear with me on that. So With that said, I'm jumping right into it. The first show, we got a match. It was the Hardys taking on X-Pac and Just Incredible. Eddie Guerrero was with the Hardys. Albert was with just X-Pac and Just Incredible, X Factor. This was a match that happened. I'm not taking it off. I'm leaving it as it is. Throughout the match, it is going to be it's X-Pac and Albert. I switched that part up. It's X-Pac and Albert in this match. Albert fights the whole match. He is winded. He's going for the hot tag on X-Pac. The Hardys are winded because they've been fighting Albert the whole time. Go to tag an X-Pac. He jumps down. He wants no part of it. Just Incredible. What the heck's going on? Here comes Eddie Guerrero with a chair. Takes out Just Incredible. X-Pac and Eddie go into the ring. They take those guys out. Commentary doesn't know what's going on. Doesn't make sense to anybody. You got ex-WCW guys here, but technically they're WWF guys at this point. So there's no spoiler here yet. It's just, hey, what the heck's going on? Confusion, running amok.
Okay.
Next up, we had a Blackman, Trish Stratus versus Saturn and Terry match, mixed gender, leaving the match. The only thing I'm changing here, Lance Storm does interfere, but instead of taking out Saturn, he takes out Steve Blackman. And then Saturn, Lance Storm leave together. What the heck's going on? Now you have a WCW guy tied to Saturn, who is an ex-WCW guy. And if you put 2 and 2 together, Eddie was also a guy that came over with Saturn. So the wheels start turning. You're like, what? Hold on a second. What's happening here? Then you have Jericho versus Big Show. Now, for the people who have the wheels turning, they're like, okay, well, both of these guys are ex-WCW. What's going on here? The match starts. It's a hardcore title match. We're leaving that. It's hardcore title rules. Eddie Guerrero, Saturn, now Dean Malenko, and X-Pac, Lance Storm. They all come down to the ring, and they take out the Big Show. Chris Jericho, confused. What the heck's going on? Chris Benoit whispers, because at this point these guys are tag champs, so he's very confused, like what the heck's going on. He whispers something to Jericho. Jericho is like, no. They take him out as well. If you ain't gonna be with us, you're against us. Take him out. Now you kind of get the idea. Hold on, there's an invasion happening here. They're taking WCW guys from our team, and Lance Storm, obviously the only one at this point from the actual WCW there, and they're all coming together. It's very clear. Next on the show is where the Stalker angle came in, deleting it from history. It never happened. It's one of the worst ideas that ever came across Vince McMahon's head. Don't know what he was thinking other than, I'm going to bury this man. It's gone. Stricken from the record. It never happened. DDP is way better than that. So from there, the next on the show, we had a Hollies, the Hardcore Holly and Crash Holly taking on the Dudleys. And during this, you had Spike Dudley and Molly Holly involved in a little love triangle. At the end of this match, the Dudleys end up putting Molly Holly through the table anyway. Spike sacrificed himself. No, I'm not letting you do that. But in this timeline, Spike Dudley feeds her to the Dudleys, and he joins them with their whole mission because ECW. Their battle lines have been drawn here. ECW, and that's what happens there. Nothing major with that one, just to throw that out there. Just you see the ECW angle kind of falling there. At the end of the show, Vince comes down there. He's with Stone Cold Steve Austin. They were a pairing at the time. Fans are confused. Vince wants to know. He is demanding the locker room. Tell him, get out there and say what is happening on this show. He's not going to stand for anymore. He wants to know what's happening. Jericho comes out. He's a little limping from the beatdown he took. And he kind of whispers to Vince, hey, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. We don't hear it. We just see them interacting. And then you hear Vince say, WCW. And at that point, you hear, you get Eddie Benoit, X-Pac, Dean, Saturn, and Lance Storm coming out with Shane McMahon, and they stand on the entrance ramp. A few of the WWF guys come out. You get a brawl on the stage. Battle lines have been crossed. We're getting right into it. We're not going to sit there and one person shows up here. We're getting right into it so people know this is the real deal. As this is happening, in comes Diamond Dallas Page from the back and hits a diamond cutter on Jericho. DDP and Austin, they start fighting. We're letting the people know right now, DDP is a big deal. He is not one to be joked with on this show. Screw you, Vince McMahon, for this. I will never forgive you for it. As those two are fighting, lights go out. What's happening? Lights go on. I'm bringing in the first member that wasn't a part of this angle because he should have been, Sting. He is in the ring. He takes out Austin with the bat. He points it at Vince. Show goes off. That's how we're starting this invasion angle with the first night.
Okay,
now,
5 minutes gone.
Okay, from there, that was probably the longest part of this, so it'll all just go easy from here. From there, week by week, you just kind of get people showing up from periodically. You got Booker T. Who else do we got here? Booker T, Scott Steiner, because he's coming in during the invasion, not after. And just others. Palumbo and O'Hare, I'm bringing them in because they're the only real tag team they had with WCW coming over to the invasion that I remember. So I'm bringing them in for that fact alone. They all show up periodically through the next few weeks leading up to the King of Ring pay-per-view. Eddie, Benoit, Malenko, Saturn, and X-Pac, they continue on the program as WWF employees because technically they're under contract. But the WCW guys are showing up and helping them, and the invasion is spreading like a plague within the WWF television. During this time, Jericho, he was the tag champ with Benoit. Benoit no longer with him, so he's the tag champ alone. He ends up dropping the titles to the Dudleys because why not? Just to kind of really push that envelope of, hey, there's an ECW thing brewing. Is it? Are they on one side? Is it happening? Well, it's just to kind of confuse people, like what's going on with the ECW stuff. It's always hinted. Nothing ever happens with it yet to this point. So as the debuts happen week by week, but not part of the show, just showing up, helping, and kind of ruining Vince's Raw and SmackDown shows, we get to the King of the Ring. Your brackets for the King of Ring were Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit, Jeff Hardy versus Saturn, Christian versus Dean Malenko, Big Show versus Raven, Edge versus Tess, Blackman versus Eddie Guerrero. Eddie. Crash versus Tajiri, Rhino versus X-Pac. I purposely made sure that there was no WWF versus WWF or WCW versus WCW and ECW people taking on WWF people there again to kind of, hey, what's going on here? I see something brewing. Doesn't happen. From there, the next round ends up being Benoit. Benoit beats Kurt Angle in the first round with help, obviously. So it'd be Benoit, Jeff Hardy, Christian, Big Show, Edge, Eddie, Crash, X-Pac. Again, WCW, WWF. With the exception of Christian, Big Show, but there's a reason for that one. And the next one, you get Benoit, and this happens at the pay-per-view. You have Benoit versus Big Show and Edge versus X-Pac. Benoit beats Big Show, again, with help, because that's all these WCW guys are doing. Edge beats X-Pac. Edge is going to go over Benoit here because I want Edge to be a bigger factor here, not just kind of a middle guy. I want this to be the thing that elevates him to the next level. I don't want him to have to wait a few years after the invasion angle. I want Edge to be a big deal immediately, and thrusting him into this, especially with a win over Benoit in this invasion angle, I think is a big deal for him. The rest of the card, I'm leaving Matt Hardy versus Just Incredible. Again, WF, ECW. The Dudleys take on Kane and Jericho for the tag titles. Jeff Hardy versus Tajiri, Kurt Angle versus Shane, the street fight. I'm leaving that. I think it's too important.
Yeah.
And then Stone Cold versus DDP will be your world title match. DDP is the only man getting a match from WCW as far as the invasion goes because it made sense. Obviously, Stone Cold goes over here, but after the match, we get the debut of Goldberg because he is another man that was needed for this invasion angle for WCW to come across the threat. And that is what's happening. He doesn't do anything. He debuts. You're next. Done. Because the dream match we all wanted back then was Goldberg versus Austin, and I just teased it for you. Next night on Raw. It is not an invasion without these guys. Vince opens up the show before he can even say one word. You hear the car crash. Razor Ramon's music hits. He walks out with a microphone. He soaks it all in because they're going to go crazy for this. He's obviously wearing NWO. He hits it with the line, "You know who I am." As he slowly continues to walk to the ring, he soaks up the pop. He's getting a pop for that line. It's guaranteed. I don't care what anyone says. And then he follows it up with, "Hold on, you know why I'm here? Oh, and I'm pretty sure you know why I'm here." As he continues to walk, as this has happened, Vince is confused. Nash comes in, jackknife power bombs Vince McMahon.
10 minutes gone.
Okay, Scott Hall comes in, leans down, says, "You may have won the battle, but we're here to win the war." Cut to the back. Stone Cold is laid out. You're like, oh, Goldberg, this son of... Nope, it's Hollywood Hogan. He has taken him out, spray paints the NWO on him, trademark, cut the thing. That's how that show starts off. Then, from there, let me find my spot. Hold up. I'm getting there. There we go.
Remember, you got 5-minute overtime if you need it, Jim.
Yep,
Don't panic.
Gotcha. So, from there, WWF goes on as planned. You see a little bit WCW invasion stuff sprinkled in. Nothing major to go over. The next week, Vince is in the ring. He demands Shane and his goons come out to the ring right now. He's surrounded by the WWF people. And again, the ECW guys are in the back. They're all together, planting the seeds. Shane comes out alone. His guys aren't there tonight, as he points out. He knows nothing about the NWO stuff, but he is on board with taking them out. He knows Eric Bischoff is bad news, and he wants to team up with his dad to make sure it doesn't happen. Vince hesitates. He looks around. He shakes Shane's hand. And then it shows in the back, Malenko, Saturn, Eddie, Benoit, and X-Pac, people who are actually members of the roster, who are not out there. They look on in disappointment. They are now disappointed in Shane McMahon. So then the next week, we'll go to SmackDown. You have the main event, Taker and Kane versus Eddie and Benoit. Taker and Kane win. Goldberg, DDP, Booker T jump in and start beating down Taker and Kane. Shane comes in. He was at ringside. He says, "I demand you guys to stop. That's not what this is about anymore. We're after the NWO." NWO music hits. Everyone kind of looks shocked, like, what's going on? What do we do? And out comes Hogan, Nash, Hall. X-Pac is now with them. I might have said he was in the beatdown, my mistake, but he's with NWO because 6 for life every time. There's a pause. They stand on the ramp, and then out comes Eazy-E Eric Bischoff. And he lets it be known, you may own WCW, but WCW is still working for me. They then take out Shane McMahon in the ring. That's how we end that show. And no, it don't end the show there, because on the big screen, backstage, we have another brawl going on because it's a very heated situation. WWF versus WCW is going on. Sting is going after Austin. They're going back and forth, and Vince is just in the background, hands on his head, just completely beside himself as he's watching his empire crumble before him. On the next show, Vince McMahon calls out Shane, scolds him for being an idiot. So stupid. How could you let this happen? Shane apologizes. Out comes Bischoff. He wants to settle this at the next pay-per-view. Invasion. Eric wants control of WCW again. That's all he wants. WCW versus WF. Whoever has the most wins at the end of this pay-per-view is the winner. Eric gets control of WCW, but if WWF wins, Eric has to leave, never to be seen again. And then WCW has to fall in line and play ball with Vince, or they will be persecuted to the law. They'll be arrested for trespassing. They have to join the WWF roster and fall in line. That's the gimmick here. Very silly, very stupid, but it works with the invasion angle because whatever. It doesn't have to be major. The matches are what matter. From there, Eric agrees to keep his boys at bay until the pay-per-view. We don't get any more interactions between them until the pay-per-view to kind of help build up the suspense for it. Which leads us to the Invasion pay-per-view. In this pay-per-view, we have 9 matches. The WCW title match starts the show off. It's Booker T, the champion, versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, with the premise being Chris Jericho, it's the belt he never won. He wants it. He was WCW. He wants to prove his loyalty to WWF by taking the most prestigious award they have. Then you have Trish and Lita versus Tori and Stacy. That's from the show. I'll leave it. The women didn't get enough glory here. I'm not taking it away from them. Then we have Rob Van Dam versus Lance Storm to really, again, tease some ECW stuff. The beauty of the tease is the ECW stuff never happens. It's just to fool you the entire time. Because with all the big boys playing in WCW, you don't need ECW to join them. After that, you got the WWF tag title match, the Dudleys versus Palumbo and O'Hare, the only tag team WCW had. DDP versus Edge. This gives Edge a very high-profile match. Eddie and Benoit taking on the APA, just a filler match. Goldberg versus the Big Show, because Vince says, I'm going to make sure he has the biggest task. What Vince does, nonsense. NWO versus Undertaker, Kane, and Kurt Angle. And then the WWF title match for the main event, Stone Cold versus Sting, because I am saving Austin and Goldberg for a much bigger deal. Okay. In this one, Booker T wins. WCW goes up 1-0. Trish and Lita win 1-1. RVD wins. WWF is now up 2-1. Dudley's win 3-1. Edge wins 4-1. Now it's like, okay, Vince is doing the ego trip again. Whatever. But then things take a turn when Palumbo and O'Hare get the shock win over the Dudleys and become the new WWF Tag Team Champions. Now it is 4-2. Goldberg beats Big Show 4-3. The NWO wins with X-Pac helping. And then now it's tied at 4-piece. You have Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Sting for the WWF title. Stone Cold wins, so WWF wins. Goldberg attacks Stone Cold afterwards. Again, just helping move that little feud along, which we will get to later on. And then WWF wins. Eric is gone. He's gone as fast as he came, but the whole point was to put that shadow of a doubt into people's minds. It worked. And then WCW from there, all your primetime people from WCW are now looked at as threats, and they can still operate as WCW members just on the WWF roster. You can continue the invasion angle past this. It will be much more interesting than just WWF murdered us, and now we're just here to do nothing. And Austin and Goldberg can now be built towards a Survivor Series level pay-per-view back when Survivor Series actually meant something, and it is a massive deal. So, with that said, that's where I'll stop it. Again, my whole goal was to make WCW a much bigger deal, and I think I accomplished it with that little bit right there.
Well, I'm very impressed, Jim. That was our first round. That was a bit of a mic drop. I'm very interested to see what Zayn can do to counterattack this. If I'm giving you a star rating, I'll go for a solid 4 out of 5.
I'll take it.
Solid 4 out of 5. I really like what you did with Goldberg. I'm a huge Sting mark, so I like the fact that you brought Sting in. You did a very good job at making it seem like WCW were an actual threat, as opposed to just being cannon fodder for WWE like they were during the invasion. So, fantastic. 4 out of 5 from me. Zayn, are you ready? And he disappears as soon as I say, are you ready?
I would have too.
Zayn? Sorry, folks. Technical issues. This happens with Zayn all the time. I imagine a shark has eaten his internet cable again. Zayn?
No, I'm here.
He's here.
You're here.
Strictly audio.
Let's go strictly audio. This is fine. Zayn, are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, just put me on.
Okay. You're up, Zayn. Your 15 minutes starts now.
All right. Now, first things first. We have to realize that I am fighting an uphill battle here, right? And I'm not going to utilize my full 15 minutes. So I'm going to take the first 3 minutes to actually appreciate the amount of effort that Jimmy has put into it. And I actually really appreciate that he did a good job with it. And I want to praise him for that. So well done, Jimmy. I really like the way you book.
Thank you very much.
But I will,
Thank you, Zayn.
yeah, I will try my best to kind of relay the whatever I've come up with. But it's not going to be as deliberate and as detailed as what Jimmy did. But I'll just try to do my best. Now,
You're digging your own grave here, Zayn, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try my best. Okay, so if we run our memories back, I mean, you guys do. I was just a little kid. I wasn't even born then. Yeah, I wasn't even born then. Okay. Yeah. So on March 23rd, the World Wrestling Federation bought out its long-term rival WCW, and the last episode of WCW was aired on March 26th, right?
Evening, Russ.
Now, evening, Russ. Now, on March 26th, Shane McMahon comes up on WWF TV, and he says that he has bought out WC. He's basically the owner of WCW. Now, this is where it starts to change, because am I audible? I just lost my connection there for a while.
You're back.
Okay.
You're back.
So Shane takes over WCW, and on the same show, while Vince is confused, he runs his main event as usual. And who comes out right before the main event? It's Paul E. Dangerously walking down through the crowd. Now, Paul E. Dangerously comes down with a mic, grabs the mic, and says, "I'm not letting this show run until Vince McMahon comes out right now." Now, what's Paul E. Dangerously, right? It's the guy who runs the ECW. It's Paul Heyman, but his name is not Paul Heyman yet. It's Paul E. Dangerously.
Okay.
So Paul E. Dangerously, the guy with the ponytail who runs ECW, not to be confused with Paul Heyman, which became his name later down the line. He comes out and he says that I'm not letting the show run until Mr. McMahon comes out and talks to me right now. So when Mr. McMahon comes down and he's already confused with what's happened with Shane, and he's like, "All right, what do you want?" He says that ECW is the best show in town, and he's willing to prove it to him. Right? So Vince is like, "Man, you're insane," in his usual voice or whatever he says. And he agrees to the fact that
You're
WWF,
crazy, pal.
"Yeah, you're crazy, pal. Paul E. Dangerously, you're not even Paul Heyman yet," or something, whatever he says usually. So he tells Paul E. Dangerously that you're out of your mind. You're WWF. You're not even second best. WCW is second best, and whatever. Now, Paul E. Dangerously doesn't take this kindly. And on April 1st happens WrestleMania X7, also known as the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Now, many people choose not to meddle with that while rebooking the invasion. But I, being a piece of shit, kind of want to tarnish the legacy of the greatest WrestleMania of all time, right? So the show goes as planned, kind of. It happens, and in the end, the Stone Cold heel turn doesn't happen because as soon as the match starts, Rock versus Austin, Paulie dangerously comes down with all these ECW boys, and they just beat the shit out of both Stone Cold and The Rock. Now, Paulie dangerously, who's not yet known as Paul Heyman, his name is Paulie dangerously because Paul Heyman, the moniker Paul Heyman, was given to him quite later down the line. He was
10 minutes remains.
known as Paulie dangerously, not to be confused. Yeah, not to be confused with Paul Heyman. Now, Paulie dangerously basically just ruined the main event of WrestleMania X7, which was shaping up to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Now, the next night on Raw, Vince is pissed. And Vince comes out and he says, well, damn it, WrestleMania is the greatest show of all time. We'll run it again, right? And instead of the invasion, WrestleMania X7 2.0 happens. Right? I'm not booking the invasion. I'm booking WrestleMania X7.
Then you are not going to win this competition, Zane.
I'm not going to win it anyways, right?
Carry on. You've still got 8 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah, people already hate me, right? They can't hate me anymore after that.
Nobody hates you, Zane. We all love you. Now, you've got 7 minutes. Crack on. Okay.
So the next night, Vince is like, he's completely forgotten about WCW and whatever his son Shane did. Disqualified. Look, Alex. It's not disqualification. I'm booking the invasion. I'm booking the pay-per-view, but it's called something else, right? The pay-per-view is the same, but it's called something else. You can call it WrestleMania X7 2.0 Invasion in brackets, right? Now, as I was saying, Vince McMahon comes out and he's forgotten about the WCW issue. And he's like, all right, bring out your... he's standing there with all of his main top WWF guys. And he's like, all right, Paulie dangerously, not to be confused with Paul Heyman, which became his name later down the line, when he managed Brock Lesnar. He wasn't managing Brock Lesnar then because Brock Lesnar hadn't debuted.
Zayn, I hate to tell you this, but he was Paul Heyman for about 9 years in ECW. He wasn't Paulie dangerously after 1995.
I was going to let him go with it as long as
I'll let him go with that any longer. He was Paul Heyman from 1995.
My fact checker will get a hearing after this. Anyways, so Paul Heyman, not to be confused with Paulie dangerously, what happened to be his name 9 years ago, he comes out with all his ECW boys, and Vince is standing there with all his WWF guys, right? And they just go wild after one another. And at the end, Undertaker's left standing alone in the ring, and Undertaker goes, well, if it's WrestleMania, without any prompt, well, if it's WrestleMania, my streak must be on the line, right? And who better to face the streak? Because the forgotten WCW boys, the lights go out, right? The lights shine on the rafters, and up there is Sting's dad, right? Not Sting's dad, it's Darby's dad, right? Sting. Now Sting descends from the rafters, right? Lands right in front of the Undertaker. He says, you've been facing little boys all these years. How about you face a real man? Or whatever he said at the time. And Sting says that with his face paint on and everything. And the Undertaker's like, I accept. So the fact being that it's WrestleMania X7 2.0, it's still a WrestleMania, and the streak is on the line.
They could, Russ. They could.
They can't use fake Sting, right? Now, that's one match set for WrestleMania X7 2.0, also known as the Invasion, right? Later that night, Stone Cold comes out, and keep in mind, this show is a mess, right? I know. Stone Cold comes out, and he goes, well, hell, if Undertaker's got a match, I want a match as well, because it's WrestleMania. So who comes out? Who comes out? Lights go out. Lights shine on the rafters. It's Darby's dad, Sting. Now Sting descends from the rafters, and he's like, "Well, I'm taking the Undertaker on. I might as well take you on as well." So it's no, it's Sting versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. So after a while, Edge and Christian come out, and they take to the mic, and they say, "Well, hell, if Undertaker's got a match, if Austin's got a match, we want a match as well, because it's WrestleMania X7 2.0. So the lights go out, lights shine on the rafters. Who comes down with ropes tied to his shoulders? It's Sting. And Sting's like, if I'm taking the Undertaker on, I'm taking Stone Cold Steve Austin on. I might as well take you two on in a handicap match. But there's also the added stipulation that it's tables, ladders, and chairs match. So it's
Zane,
TLC 3.
I swear to God, if Batista is parked into this storyline, you are disqualified.
Shut. Okay. So anyways, so after Edge and Christian come out, and the match is set with Sting, The Rock comes out. And he's like, well, hell, if The Undertaker's got a match, if Stone Cold Steve Austin's got a match, if Edge and Christian have a match, why the hell don't I have a match? The lights go out. They shine on the rafters.
2 minutes.
It's Sting. Sting descends from the heavens, lands right in front of The Rock. He says to him, well, I'm taking on The Undertaker. I'm taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm taking on Edge and Christian in a handicap match in TLC 3. Might as well take you on as well. So it's a 4-match card, WrestleMania X7 2.0. The first match is Sting versus Edge and Christian in a TLC 3 match, and Sting beats the Undertaker. The streak is over. Then no, wait. It's the Edge and Christian match first. Sting beats Edge and Christian. Right, their streak is over as well.
You're now officially into your overtime.
Yeah, I know. Now, Sting beats the Undertaker.
You're gonna need it.
And Sting is and the streak is over. Sting won. Sting beats Stone Cold Steve Austin. Sting also goes on to beat The Rock. Now Vince McMahon comes out. He's like, well, hell, the show can't end like this. I have a competitor for you, someone you've never heard of before. I've dug deep down into OVW, and I've found the right person for you.
Here it comes.
And who comes
Yeah,
out?
here it comes.
John Cena.
It's Leviathan. It's Leviathan.
Still
Also known as
Batista. I swear to God, you're
Batista
disqualified.
comes out.
You finish
Power
the job,
bomb
you
Sting.
got 2 minutes.
1, 2, 3. Batista stands atop Sting at the end of WrestleMania X7 2.0, The Invasion. And that's how you build a main event star.
Right, Zane. As I'm a generous man, let me just sort this out again. As I'm a generous man, I'm gonna give you 2 points to Jimmy's
Thanks.
fall.
He did
Right.
that. He did make us laugh.
You made me laugh a lot, and I'm a massive Sting mark, so I did appreciate the fact that Sting just destroyed the entire WWF roster. But
Except
you
for
didn't exactly,
Leviathan.
except for but you didn't exactly present the book you were asked to present. So I can't give you any more than 2 points. I'm afraid we're just going to have to go
fair enough.
Here, as Alex is pointing out, -1 star. I think that's a fair read.
The Jimmy Bebe star rating, Zane, you get 5.
That was hilarious. And I've got to give you that was hilarious. I don't think it was, honestly, Zane, anywhere near as good as Jimmy's. But you made me laugh. And that is always something.
We did both book Sting versus Stone Cold as well, so that's cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, I did like that fact. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here for the first episode of Buddy Wars. It's been emotional. What can I say?
Both.
Right? If so, you know, we are going to be running a poll on Twitter all week. It will run from today till next Sunday to determine who the winner will be. Please go there and vote for Jimmy. I don't want to have to put Zane into round 2. This was painful enough. So please go to Twitter, go find the poll, and vote for who you'd like to win. And Oh, I almost forgot. Next week, episode 2 of Buddy Wars. We'll be booking a completely different subject. Next week, we will have the Quizmaster Matty versus Joey Styles himself, Simon. And just in honor of Joey, I've given them the December to Dismember. It's a terrible show. It was a terrible angle, but realistically, they can't do any worse than Vince McMahon did. So, boys, if you're watching, your show for next week is the December to Dismember. I will send you both in your DMs before the day is out. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we do here at WrestleBuddy, if you enjoy the content we're putting out, thank you so much for tuning in. Thoroughly enjoy. Russ, it's great to see you. Anybody else that's in the comments, please like, share, and subscribe to this video. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really knows we exist. If you enjoyed it, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week, except next week we will have an 8 p.m. UK start time. We had to do it differently this week because Jimmy was only available here. And thank you for coming, Jim. I really appreciate it.
You can all catch me later tonight for the Raw recap right after Raw is over with. Come on and join me. Raw's been on fire.
Zane, thank you so much for joining us. You made me laugh, my friend, and that is all I can really ask for.
Yeah,
right.
Jimmy.
But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That was episode 1 of Buddy Wars. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Nick. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.